Hey guys, welcome. This is the first podcast for The Flip Side of Death. I'm your host, Lynn B. Stone, and today will be an introduction to me, to this podcast, and also an invitation. So, an introduction to me. I'm an international author, the creator of the Resistant Conversation Toolkit. I'm also a mother to 2 beautiful children, a stepmom to 3 adult children, grandmother to 2 little ones, and a widow of 10 going on 11 years. And I added that last part because it's important to the topic that we'll be discussing on this podcast. But I also want you to know that it doesn't define me. It's one of my many titles, but it's not the primary, right? It's not the thing that, I don't hang my little widow card, right? Say, I'm a widow, you have to treat me different. No, unless I tell you, most people don't know. So, and that's okay because, I'm still me, and I don't have to explain myself to anybody like that. But I will explain myself to you all because I think it's helpful to understand the thought process of someone that's gone through this. And if you're preparing to go through it or are already going through it, I think it just gives you just some food for thought, something to chew on. So my story for being a widow, my husband was 11 years older than me, and so but we were married for 9 years, and we had a great life together. It wasn't perfect, no marriage is, but it was good. And so we moved around a little bit, and we got settled in Southeast Georgia, and the day before, it was a beautiful day, and it was sunny and blue skies, white puffy clouds, and the kids were doing great things. My daughter was 7, my youngest stepson was 13 and living with us, and it was just a beautiful day. My oldest stepson had just become a daddy. His son was born I want to say it was around midnight the day before, so it was really very special. And he got to talk to his son, and of course the 2 that lived with us. It was good. So it was just a perfect day, and we went to the Home Depot or Lowe's or whichever one it was, whatever gardening store it was, and got some plants because we wanted to do a little garden, and had such big plans. And then the next day I woke up and he didn't, and it was so unexpected and so shocking and surprising, and we were not ready. We didn't have anything in place. The only thing we did have was a life insurance policy through work, and it was crazy. It was absolute chaos. And so I don't even know how to describe all the things that I went through, but through this podcast you'll learn a little bit more about me as I talk through different topics. But I wanted to create this podcast because we didn't have anything planned. And I think that's really the biggest motivation for me, is I want other people to be as prepared as they can possibly be, because you just don't know. You don't know when your time is up. You don't know when the card gets punched and it's time for you to make your exit. We know we will all die. I mean, that's a 0% survivability rate for being human. But as far as when or how, unless you do it to yourself, you don't know. And I am not advocating for that, by the way, just so everyone's clear. And so I felt like it was really important to share my message with people, because it is absolutely necessary to get your plans in order and have those difficult conversations and just get it written down. Now I'll tell you, my husband, he was in the military before he and I got together, and he was in for about 10 years, and he had post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of it. Not diagnosed formally, but he did. He was very stubborn in that he did not want to go to the VA. He felt that was for people who had lost limbs, not for people that had experiences. So, that was his choice, much to my chagrin. And that's okay. We made it through, but we didn't have anything planned. And so when he died, it was just crazy. It was complete craziness. And so that's why I did this. I wrote a book, Till Death Do Us Part, The Practical Guide to Preparing for the Inevitable, and it is exactly that. It is a guide. It's not all-encompassing because everyone has different situations and scenarios that they are going through. But it does at least start the thought process of things that you should talk about, things that you should consider. So I wrote the book and published it. Well, I wrote it. Had been writing it for several years, but I finally published it on January 1st, 2025. And so the last year, where are we at? 17 months? No, 12, 13, 14 months. Sorry, math is not my forte. You will learn that. You'll see me struggle with that. I will own that. It's not my forte. So for the last 14 months, I've been trying to get the word out, because while I published a book, and yay, I published a book, it's not an Amazon bestseller. People don't want to talk about this, right? People don't want to look this up. People don't want to engage in this type of conversation unless they're going through it, or they know someone who went through it, or something like that, right? It's just not a hot topic that everyone wants to know. But of course, death, everyone's dying to get into it, right? Ha ha ha, hardy har. So also, dry jokes, death humor. Sorry, you'll come to get used to it. So one of the things I did want to share about my podcast and what makes this a little unique compared to others is, of course, the spin. Like, it is, I called it the flip side because I do want to talk about the death planning aspect. So I do plan on having multiple guests here on the interview with me. So estate planning attorneys, funeral planning directors, life insurance agents, CPAs, Medicare specialists, hospice people. I mean, I want to talk to all of those people because I think there's things that we think we know about these processes and these various things involved with planning that we don't necessarily know as much as we think we do. We have just a general idea of what it is, but we don't actually have an actual direct understanding. So I'm bringing these people to you to have these conversations so that they can answer questions, and they can, I'll have questions already lined up. It'll be kind of an interview type thing, but it'll also be a casual conversation because I think that it's really helpful for people just to kind of understand what we're talking about, what's going on, what needs to be discussed. So that's the plan for that. But I also want to talk to people who have been through this, who have been widowed, who have lost the loves of their lives, and what they've done as a result of that. And I'm not talking about the immediate aftermath, because you may not know, but I know that the immediate aftermath is complete chaos. It's just and honestly, it depends on how long you were married, the status of your relationship, because I'll also say this, not every relationship is, a bed of roses. And I mean, ups and downs. And I've talked to a lot of people in the widowed community, and a lot of them were getting ready to go through divorce. Some were already divorced. Like, it was just very fresh. And of course, it was rocky. A lot of them were facing addictions. And of course, the ones that find out about certain things, infidelity or addictions or whatever after the fact, like after the person dies and they find all this stuff. I mean, it can be pretty crazy. So I want to talk to those folks. I want to talk to the widows and the widowers who've been through it and what they've done. Now, I don't want to focus on the drama. While the drama is juicy and might get you wanting to eat your popcorn, I'm not really about that. I'm more about what they've done and how they've used their tragedy as a way to move forward and to help others. So I've met some really incredible people who have done amazing things, and so I want to share them with you, and so you'll get to know them as well, and you'll hear about their experiences and their recommendations for things that they wish they had done. I think that's something that in the widowed community was always kind of a gee, I wish. If there was something that you wish you knew, what was it? And that that kind of knowledge I think is really important. Because you can have the wills and the trusts and the insurance policies, you have all those things, but just because you have all your little duckies lined up in a row doesn't mean that you're going to not be stressed out or not have those moments where you just, man, I wish I would have gotten that information. And so with Resistant Conversation Toolkit, I did add in some worksheets that are in alignment with that toolkit, but also are kind of standalone. Like, you can use those independently. So I created that. I'll talk about that a little later. But that was why. That was what I want. And I want them to give their recommendations, their ideas, their experiences, and things that they would suggest. So the invitation. Some people might think, I think we're good. I mean, I know everything. I handle everything. I handle the books. I handle this. I handle that. And, the thing that I want you to think about is, if you handle everything, what happens if you go, right? What happens if you die and they're left trying to pick up the pieces? Did you document everything that you've done, or do you just inherently know it? Because that's really what it's all about. You're preparing your partner for life without you, or you're preparing yourself for life without them, or you're preparing your kids for a life without the two of you, right? Or, you know what I mean? Like, there's more to this. It's not just the surface level. I mean, this is deep. This is really, really deep stuff, because once you're gone, they can't ask you. And, summoning you from the dead, with seances and stuff, yeah, that's, some people might subscribe to that, but I don't recommend it. And that's, regardless of your beliefs, I mean, you can try. But, it's much easier just to have a conversation, right? Have the discussion about where things are and what things are and why things are. What your wishes are, what, where the coveted recipe is, where the dish is, where the things are. And this seems more from a female perspective, right? It's like, oh, well, the cooking, the cleaning, whatever. It can very equally apply on the male side. Now this, I mean, in my mind, traditionally what I've been accustomed to and grown up with is that, the women do the cooking and cleaning, the guys do the stuff outside and the fixing and the mending and whatever. And in some relationships, that's not the case. And that's cool. I'm not here to judge your relationship. What I'm here to tell you is that whatever your relationship is, just make sure that the other person has awareness of what you do or how you do it, because when you're gone, that's it. And I'll go on further to say that it's not just about death. This is also about life, but also planning for incapacitation. Like, you're not able to speak, whether you're in a hospital bed and you're intubated, or you're in a coma, or you have some medical thing happen that has suppressed your ability to be able to speak or to be able to function. I talk about all those things because all of these things are so important, because we don't know. I mean, you hear every day about car accidents. You hear every day about people that are on the job site and just fall over, having a heart attack, and like what happens with that and those people. And I mean, this is real life. And so getting a grip on that and understanding that it doesn't take very long to get things put in place. It might be a very mild inconvenience of your time to sit down and write down your wishes, but at least you've written them down. At least you've documented what you want, because if you're not able to speak, then the people that you've designated to speak on your behalf have to be able to know what you want. And, if you go into the doctor's office, or if you go into the hospital, the emergency room, they will defer to a document if you have it, but if you don't, then they're going to work with your spouse, or work with your adult children, they'll work with the parents, kind of in that order, as far as what's going on and what treatment to do or what actions to take. And so that's why it's so important to make sure that you have it all written out. That way they don't have to guess. I mean, how many times, and I think back to COVID, how many times did people get rushed to the hospital, get intubated because they couldn't breathe? And then if they're intubated, they can't talk. So family has to make decisions for their loved ones. And it's very difficult whenever you don't know exactly what your loved one wants. So I just encourage you all to do that process, to go through that, to sit down and really have those hard conversations. Everyone can do it. You don't need my stuff to do it, to help you. But if you want help, if you think this is overwhelming and you need a guide on how to do it, I have it available to you. So down in the show notes, there will be a link to the assessment. So just check and kind of get a pulse check for where things are in your life. as far as, it's a vulnerability assessment. It kind of talks about the 7 different domains of your life. So it talks about your financial, your legal, your family independence. It talks about your digital life, your social life, your home life, and there's one more, and I can never remember it. And I wrote it, right? It's like but it's all important, right? It just kind of assesses all those areas, and then I get you a score, I give you an idea of like where your risk vulnerability is, like what level it is, and if things are good, if you know where things are, then you don't need my help. But if you don't and you need help, I'm here for you. So hopefully this podcast will be informative to you. It'll be helpful. It'll be something that you can go back to or you can share with people, especially if you're, someone else that is going through something right now. We all know people. We all know people who are going through something right now. I know so many people who have their parents. These are, adult children. So we're talking about adult children taking care of their parents. And how do they, trying to get information from them. Now they are caregivers. So like you need to extract this information from them, especially their wishes and, what they want, how they want it done. And people they're so resistant. Actually, I was a guest on another podcast last week. And one of the comments that was made is that, well, people are worried about speaking it into existence. And it's like, it's going to happen. And I'm pretty sure that was my reaction whenever he said that. I kind of laughed and said, it's going to happen. Again, we have a 0% survivability rate, friends. So you're not speaking anything into existence. You are preparing yourself. You're preparing your family because it will happen. We just don't know when. So getting into that preparation mode, we prepare for so many things. Think about it. You prepare for when you go on vacation, you prepare by getting vacation insurance. You're required to get car insurance, but you get insurance on your home. If you live in a flood zone, you get flood insurance. Sometimes you're required to. But you know what I'm saying? Like you do all this preparation for all these things in your life. But why not death? The one thing that we know for certain is going to happen. Why do we not prepare for it? And some people do. Some are very good about it, but a lot of people don't. I think the last stat I heard about the number of people who have a will and stuff already figured out was like 30%. 30% of Americans have a will or a trust. That is ridiculous. That is so crazy. To me, it's so crazy. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe this will help somebody. Maybe this is the kick in the pants that someone needs to just go through that process. And so here we are. So in that, I was telling you, in the show notes, it will have the link to the free assessment. If you know that you're in a bad place and you just want to just jump right into getting the help you need, the Resistant Conversation Toolkit's there. Follow me on socials. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all under the heading of author Lynn B. Stone, all one word. Please find me and follow me. Share my information because you might know someone that can use this. Either share it directly with them or just share it out to your population because you never know who needs to hear it and you can be the catalyst. And that's what's so cool about the time that we live in now is that the access we have to people and the impact that it can have is so simple to just share. So hopefully that will help somebody. And with that, thank you so much for tuning in. I know this was kind of short, but I really do appreciate you being here. Please leave some feedback in the comments. Let me know if there's anything you want me to talk about in particular, any questions you might have. Again, connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. All that information will be down in the show notes. And you can also find my book, Till Death Do Us Part, A Practical Guide to Preparing for the Inevitable. It's on Amazon and Kindle, in case you like to read it in digital version. The hard copy is nice because you can highlight, tab it out, whatever, but, to each their own. It's all available. As I like to say, death is inevitable, chaos is optional, and until next time, bye guys, take care.